And here we go. Easy stuff. Easy stuff here. You guys are gonna like this stuff. Today's a nice easy lesson. We're getting into graphing. And we're starting with the Cartesian plane, the coordinate system. Rene Descartes, the father of geometry. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna number the coordinate plane. Let's do the axes first. This is the x-axis. So when you started out in life, did you walk first or crawl first?
I ran first.
Do kids normally walk or crawl first? So this is the axis where you're actually crawling on. And then when you stand up, that is the y-axis. And that's important because we always talk about the x-y axis, x first and then y. And so now let me tell you, if you don't number your graphs correctly, I will take points off. Graphs, you look at all graphs, they're all numbered exactly one way. The numbers are below them. These are 0. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. It goes below, not on top. What do you think is going to be on the left-hand side of 0? Exactly. -1, -2, -3, -4. You've pretty much been working on the x-axis this entire time. Graphing integers, fractions, those kinds of things. Now we're moving on to the xy. And so if this is 0, what do you think is going to be above 0? Those are your positive numbers, and they go on the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then your negative numbers are below. -1, -2, -3. That's how you label a graph, under and on the left. You will have points taken off if you're not labeling them like that. You look at all graphs, that's how they're labeled. All right, and we labeled the x-axis and the y-axis. Now we want to talk about quadrants. Quadrant. This is going to seem strange to you, but this is quadrant 1. I know it seems strange that quadrant 1 would be there, and that's because when you do angles, we always start at 0 degrees would be here and doing angles going up to the left. That's quadrant 1. This is quadrant 2. Quadrant 3 and quadrant 4, which is a 1 before a 5. The V is a 5. A 1 before the 5 makes it a 4. What do you think a 1 after the V would make it? A 6. Roman numerals. So that is how the quadrants start. And again, I'll tell you why. If I look at this picture right here, this is 0 degrees. And if I wanted to make an angle that was 70 degrees, you start here and you go up in this direction. That's 70 degrees. That's why this is quadrant 1. This is 0 degrees. What do you think it would be if I went down here? Exactly. That's how we do negative angles. And when we go in the clockwise direction, that's -70 degrees. You don't have to write that down. I just was trying to show you why quadrant 1 starts in the top right-hand corner and goes around in a circle like this, because that's how we do angles. 0, 90, 180, 270, and 360. A cookie. The origin, who knows where the origin is? Exactly, right here. This is the point 0, 0. I'll zoom in. That's the point 0, 0, and that is the origin. And if I wanted to look at the signs in all of the quadrants, I would see in quadrant 1 that my x's are positive and my y's are positive. They're both positive in quadrant 1. And this is going to be important. I'm going to put a little star right here. It's always x first and then y. Alphabetical order, x, y. I go to the x-axis first, and then I go to the y-axis. If I look in quadrant 2, if I look at my x's first, my x's are negative, and my y's are positive. So in this quadrant, our x's are negative. We have negative, and then we have a positive y value. So the x's are negative, but the y's are positive. You always do your x's first. In quadrant 3, notice that our x's are negative and our y's are both negative. So these are both signs are going to be negative. And then in the last quadrant here, if we look at our x's are positive, but our y's are negative. Okay, now we're actually going to write down the ordered pairs in the next section. Okay, so you may want to put some numbers on your axis. 1, 2, 3. It just helps to be able to tell what those coordinates are. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is how you label points. When you have to graph points, this is how you graph a point. It'll look like numbers 1, 2, and 3. It'll have a letter in front of it. You go to that point and then you put that letter that's there. So we're looking for point A. And so we make sure we do our X number first. Start at the origin. Where am I going for my X number? I go over to 3. And then my Y number is going to be down 2. So what are those two numbers that I'm using? I'm using 3 and -2. So I went over 3 and then I went -2 to find point A. Point B, I start at the origin again. Where do I go for my X? -4 for the X. And where do I go for the Y? 0. I'm not going up or down. I stay right there. So I went over -4 and then 0. I didn't move up or down. And it's also a good habit to actually put X there and put Y on the top. Until you're used to it, it's good to do these tricks here. Put numbers on it, have your X and your Y. Okay, try point C. What is the coordinate? These are called coordinates. Here, put a box around this. Students confuse the word coordinate with quadrant. Quadrant, 1, 2, 3, 4, and coordinate. The coordinate is an X, Y point. The coordinate is an X, Y point. Those are definition words. Okay, try to find the coordinate C. Evan, what did you get for C? So X is 3 and Y is 4. I agree. X is 3. Go over 3, and then I had to go up 4. Okay, do points D and E. Ethan, what did you get for D? Correct. You're not going anywhere. You're not going to the left or to the right or up and down. You're staying at X is 0 and Y is 0. Nevaeh, how about for E? What did you get for point E? So I go over -2, and then how much do I have to go down? Go over -2 and then down -1. So X was -2 and Y was -1. Okay, you know how it is in math. You do it and you undo it. You go forwards and you go backwards. Now we're going to go the other way and we're going to plot these points and describe the location. So where is -4, 4? Remember, we do our X first and then the Y. I start at the origin 0, 0, and it says X is -4, so I go over to -4. And then it says it's a +4 for Y, so I go up 4. And what am I going to put right there? You put R. That is point R. Now I need to describe the location. How can I describe that location? I'm just going to say quadrant 2. But sometimes books do have you do that. Left 4, up 4. But let's do quadrants or axes. So this is actually quadrant 2. Okay, try number 2 and 3. Plot points S and T. Point S says you're going to X is 3 and Y is -2. So I need to go +3 for X and then -2 for Y. That would be down 2. That is the point S. And what quadrant is that in? Quadrant 4. point T says x is 0, but then I need to go down 4. So here's x is 0. I'm not going to the left or to the right. I'm at 0, but then I need to go down 4. How would I describe that location? Is it in a quadrant? Y-axis. So if it's not exactly in the quadrant, it's either going to be on the x-axis or the y-axis. Here are some definitions. We had definitions in the beginning: quadrants, coordinates, axes. Another definition would be the domain. The domain is about the x value. So every time you hear the word domain, you're going to think x's. And every time you hear the word range, y values. How you can try to keep this straight is that x and y are alphabetical order. Well, so is it domain and range, D and R. That's how I like to think about them. Alphabetical order, they line up. Okay, let's talk about the first part of what graphing is going to look like. This is the beginning of graphing for all functions. Right now, the rest of the school year, we're on linear functions, lines. Okay, and so this is the first technique they show for every single different function there is. It's like playing connect the dots. They start out by saying graph the function. Here's the function. Y equals 2x minus 1. That's a function. With domain, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. What does domain stand for? So what they've done is they've given us the x values. Where do you think I'm going to put that in my chart? Under the x. So let's start with x is -2. We've done this kind of math before. Is x unknown? It's not unknown, so what do you think I'm going to do with it? Exactly, I'm going to substitute in for this x right here. Here's my x. So we have y. I'm going to actually go over to the left a little bit. Y equals 2, and I'm going to put a parenthesis for 2 times x. It says 2x. That means multiply. So we have 2 times -2, and then we still have a -1. All I have to do is simplify, and I will know what that y is. Remember, we're looking for x, y all the time to be able to graph. Where do I start first, with subtraction or multiplication? Multiplication. What is 2 times -2? 2 times -2. -4. We still have a -1. What's -4 and -1? -5. So we get that y equals -5. And I'm going to put that over here in the column, -5. When x is -2, we found out that y was -5. I can write that ordered pair. X was -2, and we found out that y was -5. What do you think I'm going to do with -2, -5? I'm going to graph it. Go down to the graph. It says x is -2, so I go over to -2. And then it says y is -5. So am I going to go up 5 or down 5? I'm going down 5. Here's my first point, and that's it. I'm done with that one. There's my first point. Okay, back to the domain. We still have some other numbers to do. We have when x is -1. Now I'm trying to make all my stuff line up here so it doesn't get messy. I'm not going to show all of this algebra every time, but I just wanted to show you what was going on. So we're substituting in y equals 2 times that x minus 1. 2x means 2 times x. I'm substituting in my -1. When x is -1 and I simplify, I find out what y is. What's 2 times -1? We have -2, and then we still have a -1. -2, -1, they're the same sign, so you add it up and keep the same sign. And then plot your point. We have the point when x is -1, we found out that y was -3. -1, -3. We're going to plot that point. Starting at the origin, x is -1, and then y is -3, down 3. And I am going to put X and Y on my graph. And then I'm going to go back to the domain. We still have 0, 1, and 2 to do. So we're going to do 0. Y equals 2 times my X minus 1. 2 times 0. 2 times 0 equals 0 minus 1. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Let's keep going and then we'll graph them all. Let's do 1. When X is 1, 2 times my X minus 1. X is 0, I stay there, and negative 1 means go down 1. When X is 1, Y is also 1, so I go up 1. When X is 3, Y is 2, so I go up 2. That can't be right. I did that wrong. When X is 2, it wasn't going to be a line. My point was like down here. I'm like, what? It's when X is 2, and then I go up 3. That's better. You're not going to connect it on this one. It gave me a specific domain. I've got an infinite numbers, and it says I only want to see when X is negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. That's it. So you're not going to connect this because that means all your fractions and decimals would be in there as well. Okay, let's look at the homework packet.